Talk Show, an Apple exclusive podcast where we talk about teeny tiny, every possible information about the Apple ecosystem. I'm your host, Harshanki, a marketing nerd who likes to eat, breathe, and survive on Apple content quite literally. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing two of the very popular video calling apps. Well, one has been used for video calling all this long, and the other one has been used for video conferencing and your business purposes and webinars. I'm sure you have the hint to it already. But before I jump into the content of the episodes, why don't you just go to our social media channels and connect with us? We're available on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter as iGeeksblog. If you want to connect with me or need answers to any of the technical problems that you have, you can always DM me. I'm available on Instagram and Clubhouse as Harshanki with an extra I. And do not forget to like, share, subscribe, follow, download our episodes. We're fairly new to the audio-only industry, and we can really use your support right now. Also, please do leave us some good reviews on Apple Podcast. We would love to hear your feedbacks. Coming to today's episode. Well, I've dropped a hint already, but as you know, we're going to be we're going to compare both the apps, FaceTime versus Zoom. Have my phone updated to the developer beta. I've downloaded developer beta on my iPhone. So I'm going to be giving you some real-time instances so that you don't have to risk your primary device with the updates, and you'd know what is the best outcome and which app to prefer for your needs henceforth. Now, I'm sure you must have seen the WWDC keynote. If you haven't, we have a very quick update about WWDC where I'm describing the entire event under 15 minutes. So just hop onto our podcast and listen to the episode. Coming back to this, WWDC has been fairly I was satisfied with the experience when I saw the episode because, the entire keynote, despite of it being a 2-hour long thingy, it was pretty satisfactory. Although there's one point I believe I wasn't really happy with was the fact that it was a lot of information given to us in really less time. So, when you talk about I had my MacBook with me, I had my notepad in my hand, and all this time I was just jotting down different points. It was so chaotic. There's a lot of things coming up, a lot of good things, a little bit of bad things as well. But that's okay. No keynote can be 100% accurate, right? But since it's Apple and all the new OSs and the updates that came up, I'm fairly satisfied with WWDC. Coming to the iOS 15 updates, despite of having all the exciting updates, this one particular update where they completely redesigned FaceTime did catch my attention. So when you talk about the new features that FaceTime has received, you can call more than one person. No, forget about that. You have to know this, FaceTime it's not Apple exclusive anymore. Even if you're an Android user, you can still get on a FaceTime call. Even if you have your laptop or a tablet with you, you can get on a FaceTime call. Of course, there are little negatives to it, there are conditions to it, but which good things comes without a condition, right? There's every good thing has like an asterisk with the terms and conditions apply right there. So we'll get to that later. But Apple itself removing the exclusivity means a lot. And not just that, we have the grid view now, we have the portrait mode introduced now, we have the spatial audio, we have share play, and a lot more things. So I'm sure you're really excited about that, but did it strike a bell? Did it ring a bell in your head? Right? Half of these features, they sound like Zoom to me, to be really honest. See, I've been a Zoom user for a year now because we've all been working remote. Unless I have to talk to you guys, for that I need to come to the studio and, record the episode. But I kind of like that, so let's not go there. But, you've been on Zoom calls all day long, and sometimes you're cooking, sometimes in your pajamas attending those meetings, and sometimes we often end up sleeping, right? So when I'm mentioning about all these features, I couldn't help but think about Zoom. And I'm sure a lot of you must have also had similar doubts, and so I'm here for you, comparing both the applications side by side, and for both personal use as well as business use, and coming up with the best alternative possible towards the end of the episode, so you'd know which app to stick to if you have a personal need, or if you have a business running, then what should be the video conferencing app that you're supposed to use. Because when when you like someone, if that person is doing anything, you kind of want to support to that, you kind of want to agree to that, you'll comply to anything that he says or does, he or she says or does, right? This is the feeling that I have with Apple ecosystem. Like, since I've been Apple loyal for so long now, it's been what, 5 years, 7 years I've been a loyal Apple user. When Apple updates its inbuilt app to such great extremities, I really cannot like hold my horses and I want to shift to FaceTime. But of course, what matters to us is what is the best app, right? We cannot let our loyalty take the best of us. So I'm going to be testing both these apps for you. If you want your notepads on, you just quickly start taking out notes and see which one is the better one for you. Because this is what I do, okay? I make a list of pros and cons and see which is the best outcome for me, and then I stick to that. Or you can just check out a blog that I've written on FaceTime versus Zoom at our website, www.igeeksblog.com. FaceTime is not an iPhone or an iPad exclusive app anymore. If you are an Android user, if you are using your laptops or any other gadgets, you can still connect to a FaceTime call. However, you cannot organize a FaceTime call, if that's the right professional term for it, right? So you cannot FaceTime someone if you're an Android user, but you can surely join a FaceTime call. So I'm going to be doing a live demo for you that have to add your Android user friends on a FaceTime call. All you have to do is, you gotta open FaceTime. You'll see an option that says get a link. Wait, I'm gonna put my phone on DND mode first. I don't want any important calls disrupting our communication here. Yeah. So all you have to do is open FaceTime, click on the option get link. You'll get a link and you just have to share the link across. Later. Talking about the device compatibility, if your device is updated to iOS 15, your iPhone or iPad can do FaceTime calls just fine, no issues with that. So once you have the public launch, that issue will be resolved. All the iOS 15 supported devices can take advantage of this feature. Android devices, there's not a question because you're getting a link, so you can join. Now, you do have the device eligibility criteria, although most of the Apple devices can get themselves upgraded to, most of the iPhones can get themselves upgraded to iOS 15, right? But what about the devices that cannot? So if you have like a very old model of an iPhone that cannot be upgraded, all you have to do is just wait for a link to come across. Or maybe switch to Zoom, because Zoom doesn't have a device compatibility option as such. You can always organize a Zoom call regardless of your Android or iOS, or you can always join on a Zoom call if needed. So that's an added advantage there. Why are we discussing these applications? Now, when you're discussing a video conferencing app, what you have to be considerate about the fact that the audio quality is on point and the video quality is on point, right? I mean, these are the prerequisites of a good video calling app or a video conferencing app, that both these things, if not perfect, you do not really want to use that app. The problem I have with Zoom is that, okay, so I need to, the meetings and all is fine, okay, it's a good cause, like no problems there, but boy, for every time that a background noise disturbed my meeting, if I was getting a nickel for every time that happened, I would have been so much richer by now. But I don't see that happening. So I need a good switch where I can conduct interviews, because we do a lot of guest episodes here. Being a content creator, I have to interview a lot of people to give you the right kind of advices, to bring right guests on the show for you guys. And for that, I really need something that can, mellow down the background noise. And this is where FaceTime comes into picture. So what happens with FaceTime is that it is removing the background noise. Okay, so a FaceTime call has an added feature that can just stop the background noise or mellow down the background noise, so you don't have, and also enhance your voice. So your voice would be the center of attraction, your voice would be in complete focus so that the other person can listen to you. Not just that, you're also getting spatial audio added with the new iOS updates in FaceTime. Now, spatial audio means that you can listen to the sound from whichever side the person is sitting on. if you have more than one person added in a FaceTime call, and if a person is on the left side of the screen, then you'd only hear his voice from this side more. If a person is on the other side, you'd hear his voice from the other side more. Why did Apple choose to introduce spatial audio in FaceTime calls? I'm going to replace this tech definition with a very real life experience. For how long have we been craving hanging out with our friends or having those meetings in conference rooms? Well, maybe not the meetings, but for how long have we been craving having those FaceTime calls, right? Isn't it amazing? Meeting them in person for coffee, just chilling over the Zoom call screen, like metallic experience that we have gotten ourselves adapted to lately. So just to remove this cringe feeling or this little tinge of disappointment that I had in my voice, Apple has tried to introduce spatial audio in a FaceTime call. So what happens is you'll have a more real life-like experience, and that will kind of help you connect with them and feel almost if they're sitting in the same room. Coming to the Zoom calls, they don't have a spatial audio format there. Of course, they do automatically minimize the background noise, but it's not that good, to be honest. Like, because you have a lot of this, even the dogs barking in the background, or someone just maybe a cup of coffee accidentally falling from your hand. All of these noises are very disruptive. So when FaceTime introduces a feature like this, I'm very happy to have that. And we've all had our embarrassing stories with Zoom and all the background noises. How has it fucked up our meetings, right? It has been very, 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 very funny for that matter. So I'm glad that happened. Heads up to FaceTime for that. Coming to the video quality. When you talk about Zoom, again, having one-on-one meetings would still be okay. We were fairly satisfied. But what happens is that unless you're given a better version of the same thing, you really wouldn't understand the difference of what are you missing on. When you kind of get used to the things that you have, you really don't have an idea of what are you missing on. Right? So when you talk about, say, Zoom video quality, we can only have 1080 pixels added. We can only record it in 1080 pixels and not more than that. So that is kind of saddening, because when you have to record this content, it hurts. It really hurts me when I have to like record interviews and the output doesn't come up as good as the studio camera that we have, the camera that I'm shooting on right now. Kind of hurts. So to be very honest, I was looking for an alternative where this problem could be resolved, and FaceTime is resolving that. Despite of apart from having the gorgeous camera qualities that iPhones give us, FaceTime is also introducing portrait mode for its video quality, so it will blur out the background, would be in more focus, and the other person can just focus on you and your voice. And the kind of narcissist I am, I'd really appreciate that, to be honest. Who wouldn't want to be the center of attraction in a room full of 100 people delivering a nice keynote, maybe? Even for updating you about WWDC for that matter, right? Who wouldn't like that? So again, FaceTime takes an upper hand over here. So if you are a content creator like me who's more into in a professional environment, who's taken more interviews and things like that, then this is it for you. Or if you just want a nice romantic date with your partner and you want the world to blur out so that you can have this perfect little evening with him or her, again, stick to FaceTime. If you're just addressing to a bunch of 100 people and if video is not really your primary concern, then you can keep using Zoom for that matter. Moving on to the next aspect, pricing. FaceTime is completely free to use, but then there are the participants restrictions that you have, that you cannot have more than 30. I guess 32 is the number. You cannot have more than 32 people in the same call. Zoom, on the other hand, lets you have 100 participants in the single call. And if you want more than that, if you're organizing webinars, of course, you'd need more than 100 people in the call, right? So if you want more than that, you'd have to get a premium plan, which starts at $14.99 per host per month. So that is the Zoom pricing that we have for you. So if your concern is to, have more webinars and have more than 100 people, if you have a team big enough for 100 people or more, then you have to upgrade to a premium plan. Also, FaceTime has no time restrictions. But the Zoom free plan that we have has a 40-minute time restriction. So if your meeting is going to exceed for more than 40 minutes, you cannot keep disconnecting the call and calling the person again and again, disconnecting the call, right? You need more minutes added there. So you need to upgrade yourself to a pro plan and a premium plan. And for Indian users, it starts at 1300 or 1399 a month. Pretty affordable if you're having a business and that is a requirement, unless you can stick to the free plan. Or just use FaceTime if you have a smaller team. Moving on to the next aspect, share play and share screen. So you know how Zoom and lets you share screen across for all the meetings where you can showcase an important presentations or any documents that you have to, or if you had any technical glitch, you can just share your screen and the other person can guide you how to resolve the issue. But you can never play an audio or video on a Zoom call. Lot of issues there, you cannot really do that. So what about all the times where you want to watch something really nice and just, or maybe have a video added there to your presentation while you're presenting an important thing. I mean, especially for college students, like you want a lot of sound bits added there. Sometimes you want to showcase a video with sound there. So there was this loophole in Zoom that we were experiencing, which has again been resolved with FaceTime because iOS 15 comes up with an update called SharePlay. Now, what happens with SharePlay is that you can not just share your screen, you can also share any music streaming app, okay? Almost all the streaming apps are available there. To know which apps are eligible, you'll have to check the blog on our website. But every audio app, be it Spotify, Apple Podcast, Apple Music, you can stream music with that and listen to it at the same time while continue talking with your friends. You can watch movies across a lot of streaming platforms. There's Disney, there's Hulu, there's also Prime now. No, we don't have Netflix, but then Netflix has Netflix Party going on. So I don't think Netflix would come and partner up with FaceTime SharePlay anytime soon. But they have a wide spectrum. There's also HBO, there's also ESPN. So there are plethora of options served on a platter right there for you that will help you, stream content with your friends in real time or showcase important meeting notes in audio and video format. Meanwhile, holding on the conversation with them. Brownie points of FaceTime. Zoom maybe needs to work on this a little bit. So when you compare shared play versus sharing your screen in Zoom, of course share play takes an upper hand. There is no way I would want to miss out on an opportunity where I can stream the content with my friends and family, or I can have audio video formats shown to them in real time. But you might wonder, why is Harshanki sharing all this piece of information with us? What is the point if you can only have one person on a FaceTime call? That is where FaceTime has another major update. That now, with the help of grid mode, you can add more than 30 people on a single call. So what is going to happen is you're going to see all the people added to the call with the help of the same link. And you can chat with them. You'll see these tiny little windows on the same screen where you can see their faces. And with the help of spatial audio, you'd get to listen to their voice in real time and listen to it from the same side. So have there would be a very thin line between virtual and real experience. That is amazing. It is amazingly done. So good, right? But I tried the grid mode with only 6 people. So, seeing 6 people, maybe 8 or 10 people on the same screen would be good. But I cannot really imagine myself looking at 32 people on the same screen. Because imagine if this is the size in which we see a single person, it would reduce to maybe this or even smaller. If you have a Mac, and if you're getting on a FaceTime call with Mac, you can still see all the participants. But what about the iPhone? You wouldn't want 32 people on in a grid mode in your iPhone, right? The screen is too small to include so many people in it. You don't face this kind of problem in Zoom because they're divided in a nice bunch of 4 people, 6 people. And every screen, you just have to swipe between different screens and you'll see them. FaceTime, I have not tried it, so I cannot really vouch for it, that how are we going to add 32 people there. But if it's on the same screen, then I probably wouldn't go to it. So yeah, if you have a bigger group and if you're planning to have more than 6 to 8 people added on the video call, then I'd suggest stick to Zoom. Else, FaceTime is a good option to you because there are a lot of add-ons that come to it, not just this, right? So it kind of turns out as a perfect marvel for you right there. Coming to the next point, security and privacy. Why does anyone use an Apple product? No, like I have my reasons to that. The looks, the products, the features, the feel, the brand value, the workflow automation, the ecosystem, a lot of things. Like we use the Apple product for that. Apart from that, security is a primary concern that anyone uses an Apple product for. And you know how people have been very apprehensive of devices that do not give them enough privacy or enough security, right? And this is where Zoom had a lot of backlash from the world. Not now, but last year when things started going remote and when people started using Zoom, this is this time the company received a lot of backlash because of a lot of privacy issues there. Anyone's data was getting leaked. Anyone could go into any call despite of it being protected with the passcode and a lot of things right there. These are the problems that we were facing. Luckily, with the help of like all the feedbacks the company did get into the census, and most of these issues have been resolved now. But you know how difficult it is to trust someone if we have these kind of issues coming back in. On the other hand, Apple doesn't really have any privacy and security issues at this. I mean, they do have it, but again, they are very active when it comes to keeping your security, keeping your privacy intact. And this is why, if privacy is your concern, you should definitely stick to FaceTime. Because not Apple has always been like a front runner when it comes to privacy, but especially after the introduction of privacy labels last year across every applications, or the introduction of app tracking transparency policy, or as you know it, ATT, things have drastically changed, have caused a massive, massive, massive improvement. So you have to stick to FaceTime if you're really concerned about, being your things being super secure and super safe to use. So now you might wonder that I've given you a nice long comparison, right? But you cannot still come to a definitive answer that what app are we actually supposed to use to video call, and why it is so hard to pick a call app. Why is it so hard to pick an app to video call someone? See, that is because a lot of things comes into video calling, okay? And forget about the technicalities for a moment now. Like, we're not even talking about the technicalities at this moment. All I'm saying is that think about the feeling behind the call. If it's a personal call, think about the feelings attached to it. Your feelings, the person's feelings. A lot more things come to it, right? It's not just a call for that matter. You want to be you want the best of that call, be it a normal call just to catch up on an old friend of yours or contacting your partner who stays overseas every day. You want them to see in the best versions possible. And that is why choosing the right video call is really important. When you talk about the professional requirements, well, the word professional is heavy enough. You have to be your professional best, you have to be your formal best, your presentation skills have to be on point, and every output has to be the best possible just to give that impression to your teammates or your clients or whosoever is on the other side of the call. And this is why all of these features come into consideration when you're choosing the right video conferencing app or the right video calling app. And the technicalities, well, where do I even get started about the technicalities? I've done like a 30-minute long episode on that just yet, right? So these things, when you merge together, would pick up the right app for you. Now, my honest opinion would be I have been using FaceTime for a really long time now. And most of my friends have, or my family is in, like, belong to the Apple family. So FaceTiming them has always been easier. Of course, now I can add more people into it. It would be easier to have the entire group in a single call rather than calling everyone individually or doing a WhatsApp video call for that matter. Zoom, on the other hand, has mostly been used for a larger audience. So it is going to take some time for people to adjust the fact that Zoom can also be used for your personal calls just to catch up with an old friend. So I guess if personal needs are your primary concern, then you have to stick to FaceTime because a lot of features are there. And who wouldn't want to watch a movie together at the same time with six of your friends? Even Netflix Party doesn't do that, my friends. So FaceTime is the option for you if that is your concern. But if you have a bigger team and if you want to, and also if you're like little old school and do not really appreciate changes for that matter, or if you have a bigger team and like have to interact with them on a daily basis, need to have more than 100 people added on the same call, or need to have like hour long meetings or more than that, then Zoom is the app for you. Stick to that for your business needs. And I would never use Zoom for personal calls, but I'm still very apprehensive of switching to FaceTime when it comes to my work calls, because the transition period, like it's the change that takes a lot of time, and not just moving to a new application itself. It's not that easy. Changing your applications on a daily basis cannot happen like this. You gotta get over it. You gotta get the hang of it. You gotta adapt to it, right? So I'm gonna be using Zoom for my professional needs, but when it comes to my personal needs, I'm gonna use FaceTime. So I hope that answers all your questions. If you have any further doubts about the applications or which one is the right for you, first of all, wait for the public launch. But if you still want to develop a beta, we have some amazing content written there by our writers here at iGeeks family. So you can just check out our website, www.igeeksblog.com, and we'll get the answers to everything Apple. If you want to connect with me and want me to help you resolve your queries, then you can hit me on Instagram or Clubhouse. I'm available as Harshanki with an extra I. Or you can connect with us on our social media channels. We're available as iGeeksblog on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And please, we're putting in a lot of efforts, and we are fairly new to the audio-only industry, so we would appreciate if you could leave some amazing reviews for us on Apple Podcast, or just like, follow, or download our episodes on whichever streaming platform you're listening to, because the iGeeks blog show is available across every streaming platform of your choice. Sadly, this brings me to the end of the episode. As much as I want to interact with you, we'll have to wait till next week with some amazing brood content ideas for you, maybe a live demo of some other application. If you have any ideas or any feedbacks, please drop me a message so that we can cover that in the coming episodes for you. Till then, please take good care of yourselves. Step out of the house only if it's needed. Get your mask on all the time. Get yourself vaccinated, and just try to be a better version of yourself with every day. Stay safe, stay connected. This is Harshanki signing off. I'll see you next week.